What really happened to this vanishing village, the clues we missed? There are many stories about towns lost to the forces of nature. Most of the time, the cause is a sudden disaster, and it's clear what happened. But in a few rare cases, the end comes slowly. You can watch it happen, and you know the outcome long before it arrives. In this story, we look at one of those cases. The eroding periphery. The village of Shishmaref, Alaska, sits on a thin island in the Chukchi Sea, just south of the Arctic Circle. For thousands of years, the Inupiat people have lived here. Their culture and way of surviving are deeply connected to the sea around them. The community, with about 600 people, lives on a strip of land that is only a quarter of a mile at its widest point. However, the ground the island is built on is becoming very unstable. On the surface, the reason seems obvious. As the world gets warmer, the sea ice that used to protect the island now forms later in the year and melts sooner. Without this natural shield, powerful storms hit the shore directly. At the same time, the permafrost, the permanently frozen ground that makes up the island's foundation, has started to thaw. This turns solid earth into a soft and unstable sludge. The result is a disaster happening in slow motion. The coastline is washing away at a fast rate, sometimes losing as much as 10 feet of land in a year. One storm in 1997 took 30 feet of the shoreline, forcing 14 homes to be moved immediately. In the years since, more buildings have been carefully moved away from the crumbling edge. An old airstrip that once served the town now ends right in the open sea. Pictures of homes hanging over the water are easy to find, showing a powerful image of a community on the edge. At first glance, it looks like climate change is the only reason, but a closer look shows a long history of warnings and decisions that point to a more complicated story: the documented decline. The island's erosion is not a new problem. In fact, the main tragedy of Shishmaref is that its weakness has been known for more than 50 years. Residents have been writing about the approaching sea since the 1970s. Government groups, like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, have written many reports confirming that the island will not last. For decades, the main response has been to build seawalls to hold back the ocean. More than $25 million has been spent on these efforts, but they have proven to be temporary fixes, not a permanent solution. The sea always finds a way around or under these defenses, continuing its unstoppable advance. This is what experts call a slow-onset disaster. Unlike sudden events like hurricanes or earthquakes that get attention right away, these long-lasting crises often don't create the sense of urgency needed. This allows for delays from government officials and politicians. The warnings weren't missed because they were hidden. They were ignored because they were difficult to deal with. As far back as 2004, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers study laid out the problem. The cost to protect the village where it is was estimated at $110 million. But the cost to move the whole community to a new spot on the mainland was guessed to be around $180 million. The report's message was clear: keeping the village in place would require huge, endless amounts of money just to delay its eventual loss. The most sensible and lasting solution was to move. A decision in limbo. In response to these reports, the people of Shishmaref held votes. On 2 different occasions, in 2002 and again in a very close vote in 2016, the residents officially voted to move the entire village to a safer place. The 2016 vote of 94 to 78 was not an act of giving up. It was a planned decision to save the community and its cultural history. But carrying out such a plan depended on a lot of money from the federal government and the state. This help never came. The official name for this process is Managed Retreat, which is a planned move away from high-risk areas. This is often difficult because of money and legal problems. For comparison, a similar situation on Isle de Jean Charles in Louisiana, an island that has lost 98% of its land since 1955, got a $48 million federal grant in 2016. This money was for what was called the nation's first government-funded climate resettlement project. Even though they voted to move earlier, the people of Shishmaref did not receive money from a program like this. A government order meant to help Arctic communities in immediate danger was later canceled, and money from Congress to fund the move has not been approved. As a result, the community has been stuck in a waiting game. Their democratic decision has not been carried out, while the land they live on continues to wash away. The unseen costs. To fully understand the situation, we must look at the cultural and emotional sides of the crisis. The community is not just a group of houses. It holds a unique culture based on hunting and fishing for survival. This knowledge has been passed down through generations and is directly tied to the island's specific location. Moving is a major threat to these traditions. A new location, like the suggested Tin Creek site on the mainland, would change hunting routes and their ability to get to the sea animals that are the foundation of their diet and local economy. One resident explained this worry, saying that joining another village would be like giving up their unique culture entirely. The plan was always to move the community as one single group. The long period of not knowing what will happen has taken a heavy mental toll. Living with the constant threat of a major storm causes a state of non-stop stress. A storm in 2022, for example, destroyed the road to the local dump and sewage pond. This created a health crisis in a town that already has major problems with its water and sewer systems. Generations of children have grown up hearing about a move that still hasn't started. The case of Shishmaref, therefore, is more than just a simple story of a changing environment. The information wasn't missing. It was written down. The warnings were heard. They just didn't lead to the large-scale help that was needed. While the rising sea is the physical tool of the village's destruction, the historical record points to a more complex system of failure. The final fate of the village of Shishmaref is still not decided.